In the distant future, 4 supercarriers from Earth crash land in a corner of the galaxy called the Koprulu sector. The survivors rebuild civilizations among the planets of this unfamiliar sector. New generations are born, as old ones fade into memory. Rival governments vie for power. Wars are waged. Life marches on. But the darkness of space harbors threats humanity could never have imagined or prepared for. And in the year 2499, Terrans learn that they are not alone. 2 alien species, the savage Zerg and the mysterious Protoss, make their presence known through terrifying acts of destruction. And life in the Koprulu sector changes forever. In 1998, Blizzard Entertainment introduced gamers to the war-torn world of Starcraft. This intuitive real-time strategy game featured a new graphics engine, cutting-edge cinematics, and an epic storyline spanning 3 campaigns. But behind the scenes, the road to Starcraft's release wasn't without its setbacks and obstacles. Starcraft was Blizzard's 3rd venture into the real-time strategy realm. Its design philosophy was heavily influenced by the company's previous RTSs, Warcraft Orcs and Humans, and Warcraft II, Tides of Darkness. The earliest versions of Starcraft even used a modified Warcraft II engine, but as development progressed, one thing became clear. The current engine was the game's greatest enemy. Vital features like burrowing and cloaking were almost non-existent. The final blow came at the Electronic Entertainment Expo in 1996, when a public alpha build of Starcraft was shown. Reception was cold. Some fans even dubbed the new RTS Warcraft Goes Purple and Orcs in Space. By the end of the convention, nearly all of Starcraft's game stations had been switched over to Diablo, the other title Blizzard was showing. The criticism was disheartening, but it inspired the game's designers to take action. Bob Fitch, Starcraft's lead programmer, made a bold claim to revitalize the game. He would scrap the current engine and build a new one in only 2 months. Fitch didn't disappoint. The new engine was completed on schedule, and it allowed the designers to shape Starcraft into the game they'd envisioned all along. They worked feverishly to balance and fine-tune Starcraft, sometimes working up to 80 hours a week. As is common during the development stage of many Blizzard games, change was the only constant. Units and game mechanics were constantly revised. Early versions of the Terran science vessel had legs, and at one time, dropships landed on the ground to unload their troops. Even the Zerg race was originally called Nightmarish Invaders. The long hours of polishing continued until the game's release on March 31, 1998. Blizzard's goal was clear: create an RTS in the vein of their previous titles, a fun and engaging game that would capture the hearts of fans and provide endless hours of gameplay. But the fact remained that Starcraft's style and setting differed from Blizzard's previous games. The nagging question was, how would fans react?
Fellow Terrans, how come?
The answer came soon after release. Starcraft rocketed to #1 in sales for its opening month and went on to win numerous Game of the Year awards. Starcraft was both familiar and new to fans of the Warcraft series. While the Warcraft games featured only 2 mirror image races, Starcraft allowed players to choose from 3 completely unique races. Each had different strengths, weaknesses, and playstyles. Starcraft was also Blizzard's first RTS to launch with multiplayer support on Battle.net, a critical decision that would lead to a new esports era for the company's games. But Battle.net also became a haven for creative gamers to meet and share custom maps. spawning an entire community based around fan-created content. The Brood War expansion pack was released soon after in late 1998. The game continued StarCraft's engaging storyline and added new units for each race. The expansion also included more 3D cutscenes, an element of Blizzard's titles that was immensely popular among fans. Previous Warcraft games also had cinematics, but this art form reached new heights during StarCraft's development. Blizzard founders Mike Morhaime, Frank Pierce, and Alan Adham made Blizzard's film team its own department during StarCraft's development, in essence, setting the stage for the future growth of cinematics that would emerge with Blizzard's later games. Morhaime, Pierce, and Adham recognized the impact these cutscenes had on StarCraft's overall story experience, a story that took on a life of its own.
Protection it once provided is a phantom, a memory, with our enemies left unchecked.
StarCraft's gritty take on sci-fi struck a chord with gamers worldwide. Characters like the freedom fighter Jim Raynor, the psionic ghost Sarah Kerrigan, and the heroic Protoss Tassadar became iconic figures in the minds of fans. In a 2003 GameSpot poll, fans voted StarCraft's thrilling finale as the best ending of any game. But the influence of the StarCraft universe didn't end with the game. After StarCraft was released, a number of novels, comics, and manga were published to enrich the game's universe and characters, and explore what it meant to be Terran, Protoss, and Zerg. Most gratifying of all, however, was the fact that gamers continued to play StarCraft long after its release. Some people believed this was due to the game's epic story. Others maintained that Blizzard's focus on balancing units and fixing bugs was the key. In truth, there was one clear reason for StarCraft's longevity: the online community. The community grew at an incredible rate immediately after StarCraft's release. A year into the game, 4.5 million active users were on Battle.net, waging war with the Terrans, Protoss, and Zerg. An online juggernaut was born, and its strength came from the millions of gamers who supported it. To nurture the growing community, Blizzard held its first Battle.net tournament, featuring $20,000 in cash and prizes shortly after StarCraft's release. As other esports tournaments grew in number and popularity, StarCraft became a staple of online competition. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. StarCraft's success wasn't confined to North America. It flourished abroad, most famously in South Korea. In 1999 alone, 1 million copies of StarCraft were sold in South Korea. The country's professional gamers took StarCraft to an all-new level of competitive play. Their dedication and support cemented StarCraft's role in esports for years to come. The inventive playstyles of StarCraft's pros fueled the game as a spectator sport. Eventually, TV stations such as OnGameNet and NBC Game were broadcasting official StarCraft matches live to millions. As a testament to the game's popularity, over 120,000 spectators flocked to a StarCraft competition in Busan, South Korea in 2005. While esports tournaments grew internationally, Blizzard began its own string of BlizzCon and worldwide invitational conventions. These events provided a venue for pro gamers to test their mettle, but they were also gathering points for the community, places where players could meet each other, talk with developers, and experience new Blizzard games. BlizzCon and the Worldwide Invitational weren't exclusive to StarCraft. They focused on all of Blizzard's titles. But the 2007 Worldwide Invitational in particular would prove to be very memorable to StarCraft fans. It was at this convention in Seoul, South Korea, that Mike Morhaime unveiled the long-awaited sequel to StarCraft.
It is my honor to present to you Blizzard's newest game.
여러분, 블리자드의 새로운 게임을 소개합니다.
Developers had been hard at work on Starcraft 2 since the release of Warcraft 3. But the project was delayed for a year in 2005 so the team could help with World of Warcraft. Despite any delays, developers pushed forward with the project. As with the original Starcraft, change was the only constant during development. One of the game's new units, the Thor, underwent many design phases before the final look was achieved. But unlike its predecessor, Starcraft 2 used a completely new engine from the beginning of development. It allowed the designers to create content unimaginable in 1998. One of the most noticeable differences in Starcraft 2 is the groundbreaking campaign, where a player's choices shape parts of the story. Carrying on Starcraft's epic saga, familiar characters have returned, some of them voiced by the talented actors from the original game. Among them are Robert Clotworthy as Jim Raynor, but you left out the part where you walked on water, and James Harper as Arcturus Mengsk.
Descent will only slow our progress.
But a whole new cast of characters has also been introduced in Starcraft 2, and along with them, a host of exciting new actors.
Everybody simmer down.
As with the original Starcraft, much work went into streamlining the multiplayer aspect of the sequel. For feedback, Blizzard connected with fans through battle reports, podcasts, and live gaming sessions at conventions and tournaments. A completely new BattleNet was also developed as a place for gamers to meet, share their custom maps, and test their skills in online ladders and tournaments. More importantly, the updated BattleNet was created to support the online community that played such a pivotal role in the original Starcraft's success. In the world of Starcraft, 4 years have passed since the end of the Brood War. The Queen of Blades and her Zerg have remained silent. The Terran Dominion, under the rule of Arcturus Mengsk, continues to build its power. Jim Raynor carries on the fight against tyranny. But years of being a hunted man have taken their toll. Outside of the game, over a decade has passed since Blizzard introduced the Koprulu sector to the world. A decade of competitive play, custom map making, and reliving the struggle of the game's characters again and again. The next phase of Starcraft's history begins now, and fans around the world all have one thought on their minds.
Hell, it's about time.